Welcome to the Ghostly Gallery podcast, a place where we explore the world of horror and mystery in film, television, books, and in popular culture. Well, hello again, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the show. My name is Bruce Markison, and I'm joined by co-host and producer Tracy Asteria. Tracy, how are you doing?
I'm doing really good, Bruce. Happy spring is here, but sad that we have an upcoming winter storm coming. I guess it's like the end of March is saying we're not done with winter yet.
You know, where you live, you could say that every week for about 42 weeks of the year.
I think
Seems
so.
like it.
Maybe 50,
Yeah.
maybe 50 weeks.
Yeah,
It's not fun. I'm done with
it can
winter
get
now.
frustrating. Absolutely. Speaking of frustrating, I was a little frustrated watching the Academy Awards. They,
Mm.
of course, delivered the news of Best Picture. And not that I was necessarily surprised, but I was disappointed that Sinners, a terrific movie that we've talked about numerous times on this program, lost out to One Battle After Another. Granted, I had not seen most of the non-horror films that were up for Best Picture, but I did talk to a friend of mine, and he has seen every Academy Award-winning film ever. And just last week we were talking. This was the day of the Academy Awards, and he was saying, "Yeah, I watched this One Battle After Another, and I could only last about 15 minutes. It was first of all, he thought the content was disgusting."
Mm.
And didn't make a heck of a lot of sense. And he just thought it was so bad, he gave up on it. Now he
Wow.
says, I have to go back and watch the whole thing because I got to keep my streak going of seeing every Oscar winning film. But if a film is so bad after 15 minutes, and I trust my friend Ron's opinion on films, he's very knowledgeable.
Mm.
And if he says that it was really bad, I trust that it was. So that was kind of an interesting take. Sinners, I thought, was very entertaining all the way through. And I thought the
Mhm.
reviews for Sinners were more consistently good than the ones for One Battle After Another. I did see a number of professional reviewers say they didn't really like that film with Leonardo DiCaprio. Thought it
Okay.
didn't always make a lot of sense. So that was a bit disappointing. What was your reaction?
So I don't even know what One Battle After Another. I don't even know what that movie's about because
Nobody does, even those who have
oh,
seen it.
okay.
Nobody
I
has
never
any
heard
idea
of
what it's
it.
about. They just decided
Wow.
it's got a good cast and, it's cinematic or whatever.
Oh, that's bananas. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, honestly, like I never heard of the movie. The first time I heard of it, I think was just when they were announcing all of their awards, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And then they flashed to a picture of Leonardo DiCaprio, and they had mentioned Sean Penn, who wasn't even at the ceremonies.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. I have no idea what the movie is about, but I was really kind of disappointed. I really thought Sinners had a really good chance. Um, I mean, after all, like Ryan Coogler won Best Screenplay, I believe that was the award that he won. And I thought, okay, maybe we're going to get something else to go with it. I mean, they did win several awards, I believe, but
Yes.
not capturing Best Picture, I think, was kind of disappointing for me on a personal level.
Yeah.
But again, like Frankenstein won best costumes, I believe, or best
Right.
makeup. And I thought that was pretty darn cool too.
Yeah.
And one of the awards for Frankenstein, and I just have to say, because there's a Nova Scotia connection there, and forgive me, I can't remember her name, but she's from Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. She won an award for working on the Frankenstein film with Del Toro.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was not a total loss for horror that night. You mentioned Frankenstein getting an award. Best actor goes to Michael B. Jordan, who played two
Mm,
different roles, two very distinct characters, even though they were both gangsters. But they also had a lot of likable qualities, but different qualities for each
right.
one. I thought he was terrific. Amy Madigan, of course, won on Best Supporting Actress. Her role as Aunt Gladys is just one of those iconic moments or iconic roles. And supposedly that's going to lead to a film where she is the star. It's, I guess, going to
Mhm.
go back in some time. It's going to be a prequel, if you will. So there were some good things that came out of the night, even though Sinners did not take home Best Picture.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't watch any of the ceremony though, Bruce. I never typically do. I read about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the ceremony, it's become difficult because it is a long program. It goes, what, three
Three or
and a half
4 hours.
hours?
Yeah.
Even the presenters historically make fun of that. Conan O'Brien, I thought, is pretty good. Certainly better than some of the hosts we've seen in recent years. Gone are the days when we had people like Bob Hope and Billy Crystal, who did it for multiple years and were exceedingly popular and really kept up their level of performance to a high
Mhm.
standard. Now it seems to be rotating among different people. I thought, from what I heard and saw, Conan O'Brien was good. It is a very political program. There's always commentary sprinkled in by presenters and award winners. And I don't know how you feel about it, but I really feel like that kind of political material is best left out. You're going to offend one side or another, or perhaps both, with what you say politically. And a lot of times, frankly, it has nothing to do with the films that are being shown. Not every
Yeah.
film is political. Not every film has a deep sociological message. I just don't think it's always that appropriate. Still, though, there was some of that kind of commentary. Maybe not as much as we've seen in recent years, but there was probably enough of it. It was also good that we, didn't have two actors, slugging each other, slapping each other.
Right.
That's always a highlight when you can avoid that sort of thing. So, all
Right.
in all, it was not a terrible program. It was disappointing for Sinners and Best Picture, but Sinners did win some other awards,
Mm,
and it was great to see the acclaim going deservedly to people like Jordan and Madigan. All right,
absolutely.
so that's our take on this year's Oscars. This week on our show here, very little in the way of political commentary, but lots of horror and film commentary. Tracy and I are going to delve into two films that debuted at roughly the same time. And this was 10 years ago in the spring of 2016. The first movie we'll talk about is Green Room, which came out in April of 2016 in the United States and was one of the final films of the very fine actor Anton Yelchin before his untimely death at the age of 27. The other is a film that debuted just around the same time. This was April 8th, 2016, directed by Mike Flanagan. It stars Kate Siegel, and it is called Hush. So those are our two movies. So, Tracy, we are going to begin with Green Room, directed by Jeremy Saulnier. Anton Yelchin stars as a young musician named Pat. He is a member of a punk rock group called the Ain't Rights, or as one of the band members said during the film, aren't rights, if you want to be grammatically correct. Anyway, the Ain't Rights are on the tail end of a tour that apparently has not gone all that well. The film begins almost comedically with the band members waking up in their van in the middle of a cornfield somewhere. The driver apparently fell asleep at the wheel and also left the engine running so that they completely ran out of gas. So they're stuck out in the middle of nowhere. Pat and a female band member named Sam take a bike ride to a local mall, and that's where they illegally siphon gas out of one of the parked cars. Yes, it is not legal to do so, but hey, they were desperate. They had no money. They had no gas. So they put the gas back in the van, allows them to drive to their next destination, which is just outside the northwestern city of Portland, Oregon. And there they meet up with this young man named Tad, who is arranging their next gig. Now, Tad informs them that because of some problems that developed at one of his recent concerts, he is no longer able to pay the members of Ain't Right to show up. He can't pay them their scheduled fee. He will have to give them a far reduced fee that will give each band member approximately $6.87 or some ridiculously low amount of money. And rightly so, this upsets the band members. They're not happy about it. They're broke to begin with. And it's not worth it for them to do a gig where each of the four members gets under $7. So as a compromise arrangement, Tad offers the band a chance to play at another location. This is where his cousin Daniel works. Here's the problem. It is a neo-Nazi skinhead bar located in the woods outside of Portland. Neo-Nazi skinhead bar. That is a tough gig, to say the least. For this, they'll receive at least a few $100s, so it's a better paying gig than the alternate gig they were offered. And the band is going to have to open for a Nazi metal band called Cowcatcher. Cowcatcher is the name of the band. And I looked up this term on Wikipedia. A cowcatcher is apparently a real thing, or was a real thing, years ago on locomotive trains. It was a device that they attached to the front of the locomotive, and I guess it would like block cows or knock cows off the path if a cow somehow strayed onto the train tracks.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's apparently these things did exist. Why this band called themselves Cowcatcher is beyond me. It's a hysterical name, but I guess somewhat fitting for them. Well, given all of this, the members of the Ain't Rights, they agree reluctantly to take the gig because they need some money before they can head out on their next concert, if you can call it a concert. So the Ain't Rights start a mid-afternoon set at this skinhead bar, and they decide to begin with a very questionable song, one that basically curses out Nazis as the dregs of society. So, I mean, they're really poking the bear here. Predictably, that first song does not go over very well with the skinheads in the bar. I thought they were going to storm the stage, but they didn't go that far. They decided, we'll wait these guys out. We'll see what the next song is. And the next song was a lot more to their taste. They seemed to like it. They were dancing to it, if you can call it dancing. And they do allow the Ain't Rights to complete their set without any incident. So they get through that part of it. Now they've played their set. The band members receive their payment backstage. But one of the band members, Sam, forgets her phone in the back room, aka the green room. So Pat, again, that's Anton Yelchin, offers to get the phone for her. But when he walks into the green room, he sees the body of a young woman, Emily, on the floor. She has been stabbed. In fact, she has just been murdered. And as they're about to find out, she's been murdered by one of the members of Cowcatcher. And it's a horrible man named Worm. So Pat immediately takes his cell phone. He calls the police, reports the stabbing. But two of the bar's workers, a man named Gabe and this huge guy who must have weighed over 300 pounds, Big Justin, they take the cell phones away from the members of Ain't Rights and hold them in the green room, hold them captive, basically, because they know that they're witnesses to the presence of this dead body. So Big Justin holds the band members at gunpoint while Gabe contacts the bar owner, a man named Darcy, who was played by all people, Patrick Stewart. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Before Darcy is able to show up at the bar site, Gabe comes up with a plan. He pays off one of the skinheads who's at the bar to stab another skinhead and give him a relatively mild wound that he can recover from. But this will create a cover story for the police when they show up a few minutes later. And they'll say that the first call that was made was about that stab wound, which was relatively minor. Well, just when the police arrive, that's just about when Darcy, the boss, arrives. The police buy the cover story. They haul away the two skinheads involved in this scheme. still painfully unaware of the real crime that has taken place and the hostage situation that has developed in the green room. Darcy then tells the members of Cowcatcher to leave the premises. Just get out of here, keep a low profile couple of days, at least until this incident dies down. In the meantime, the situation in the green room continues to develop. We learn that a girl who witnessed the murder, named Amber and played by Yelchin's real-life girlfriend at the time, Imogen Poots, was close friends with the deceased Emily. And she now wants nothing to do with these skinheads because they're responsible for the murder and they're trying to cover up the situation. So Amber is willing to work with the members of the Ain't Rights to try to find a solution and get them all out of this back room safely. Two of the Ain't Rights band members overpower Big Justin in the green room. They take him hostage. Darcy then tries to negotiate with them through the door, which has been locked shut, telling them that they're going to have to give up the gun that had originally belonged to Big Justin. He turned it over to them. But now Darcy says the Ain't Rights have to give up that gun. If they don't, he warns them this situation is not going to end well. In actuality, the boss, Darcy, has no interest in finding a peaceful solution or in bringing the real culprit to justice. He is a schemer through and through. He is simply trying to find a way where the bar, especially him, not liable for the murder, and whereby he can frame the members of the Ain't Rights for a serious crime they obviously did not commit. Well, we have Pat, the most level-headed of the group and the one determined to work out a peaceful solution to this problem. Basically agrees to give up the gun. He opens the door. He's prepared to hand over the gun. At the last second, though, Amber realizes that this is a trap because she looks through the door and sees some of the skinhead members are wearing red shoelaces or bootlaces. Mm-hmm. And she knows that is a sign that those guys are there to commit impending violence. They're like soldiers. So this is not a good situation. This is a trap. And at the last second, she tells Pat, don't hand off the gun. Well, Darcy and his band of goons slash away at Pat's hand, nearly severing it at the wrist. And this is really presented pretty graphically. The other band members are able to pull him back and shut the door closed once again. I mean, literally Pat's hand is dangling. So they've got to try to patch it up as best they can, or he's going to lose the hand completely. Now, Big Justin, he attacks the band before being choked into unconsciousness. And Amber, who doesn't want to take any more chances with Big Justin, she knows how crazy and violent this guy is. She takes a box cutter that actually had belonged to Big Justin, slits him right down the middle. I mean, right from the stomach up through the chest. And that kills him once and for all. That's pretty graphic, too. Mm-hmm. Unsure of what to do next, the band members decide they're going to pound their way into the floorboards of the green room to see if they can escape. Underneath, they discover a bunker containing a meth lab, only to realize there's no way to exit the building from there. There's no window, there's no door to go through in that basement. Eventually, the band members will make their way back to the green room. They decide they're going to make a run for it through the front door. They open the door, they discover the immediate hallway, and then the main part of the bar are both empty. So they think maybe we can get away, but no, it's actually a trap simply to entice them to head outside. And that's where nighttime has fallen, and that's where further violence awaits them. So this is the storyline, frenzied and frantic as it is. I'll tell you, it was hard to keep up with everything that happens in this film because the action is so fast and furious, and sometimes it's confusing. And a few times I was forced to stop the tape, rewind, and rewatch scenes just to have a better comprehension of the sequence of events. So hopefully I caught everything. So Tracy, I'm curious, A, what did you think of all this? And B, did you have trouble like I did keeping up with all these twists and turns?
Oh my goodness. Well, it was definitely a very intense movie, Bruce. I'll be honest, I never heard of this film before, had no idea it even existed. And the part that kind of like got me interested was Anton was in this film, and
Yeah.
it was, released right before he passed away. And that Patrick Stewart was in this. So I'm like, okay, I'm down. I'm game to watch this movie. It should be really good. I knew nothing about it going in. Um, when I first put it on, because I found it on YouTube, and I was like, oh gosh, just the way that it started. I was like, I think I might have either put the wrong movie on, or it started like I'm missing a piece of it. And because it was on YouTube, I was like, well, maybe that's just a YouTube error. But no, that's really how it started, in the middle of this cornfield. So I didn't miss anything. But I did stop and rewind just to double check, actually.
Yeah.
Um, the one thing that really grabbed my attention too was the music, like the music in this movie. Like, I guess you could call it singing. I'm not 100% sure that's what I would call it.
Yeah.
But I really dislike the choice of music in this movie. But man, this movie moved very, very fast. And there were many times I was like, oh my gosh, what just happened here? So it definitely kept me kind of guessing and trying to figure out if like maybe I missed something or maybe I didn't. But it was kind of hard to keep up at times and figure out who was who and who was doing what.
Yeah.
I really found myself, I had to pay super close attention to this movie. And sometimes I don't have to like pay really close attention, but this one I really did. But once this movie kind of really got going and you got past like the obnoxious singing, it was a really good watch. And I didn't find myself like trying to check it out or scroll on my phone or anything like that. It really kept my attention. But again, super intense movie, Bruce.
Yeah.
Really super intense, and not what I expected at all.
So one thing that I glean from you, you're not a fan of punk rock.
Is that even what it is? I'm not sure. I'm like, is it punk rock? Is it death metal? What's going on here?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah,
I guess
I
they're
was
the same.
confused.
I guess there are differences. But yeah, it's look, some people love it. And I guess in a club scene, it might be kind of a cool experience, but yeah, it's probably not our bag.
Yeah, it's not
what we would do.
No, not Madonna
How about
or Backstreet Boys.
Yeah. Did you have to do what I did? Did you have to rewind a couple of times just to sort of figure out what's happening? Because it's so quick.
Yeah, a couple of times I did have to do that, and a couple of times it's because I closed my eyes the first time. I was like, "Oh my God."
Yeah.
I was like, I better go back and watch that.
Right. Well, let's talk about some of the characters, the actors in this, Tracy. Let's start with Anton Yelchin, who is the star of the film. And this sadly was the final film that he did that was released into theaters while he was still alive.
Mm-hmm.
He did some other films after, but they didn't debut until after he had been killed in that just horrible freak accident that occurred in his own driveway.
Mm-hmm.
And Yelchin, as he often does in his films, at least the ones I've seen, he plays the part of Pat with very heroic and I think moral quality. He is, of all the band members, I think he is the most calm and reasoned. He has no interest in violence. He wants to find a solution where it's peaceful and where everybody can come out of it, although that ends up being unrealistic given the circumstances. I think this performance, like a lot of his performances, he gives the role a likable everyman quality, even though he's, punk rock band member. Not to defame those who are members of such bands, but maybe they don't always have everyman qualities. But I think Anton Yelchin does. He seems like a pretty reasonable, grounded guy. And he's living with these other people who I think prefer kind of a wild lifestyle. I get the feeling just goes along with that. He really just wants to play. He just wants to perform. Some of his bandmates are unpredictable. And we see that with the other two male members of the band when they rush at Big Justin and they're they're looking for a more violent solution to the situation, and Pat is just trying to hold back. Then we have Anton Yelchin's real-life girlfriend, Imogen Poots, very good actress. I've seen her in some other films. She did one of the Black Christmas movies. I thought she was very good in that. And she is, at first, a member of this group of white supremacists. She hangs out with Big Justin and Worm and all these skinheads. But then she quickly comes to distrust them because she sees that her good friend Emily has been murdered. And she sees how pretty much everybody in that green room among the skinheads has no regard for the lost life. They're just looking to get out of the situation. They're looking to come up with some kind of a scheme, some kind of a plan, so that they don't have to go to jail, they don't have to go to prison, and they don't seem to have any regard for human life. And I think she really notices that. This becomes evident to her at this scene. Maybe she saw some signs of it leading up to that night. But what happens with her friend Emily just being murdered in cold blood, stabbed to death, convinces her that these are not the people I need to be with. So she's actually a pretty sympathetic character. I have to say this, though. The haircut that she wears as Amber is one of the worst haircuts I've ever seen. I mean, it is horrible. Horrible. She's an attractive actress, and they make her look about as homely as you could. And her haircut is so bad that at times I found it difficult taking her seriously, even though she's, I think, pretty reasoned, although she's a little prone to violence too. But I almost can't listen to what she has to say because that haircut is just so out there. I mean,
know.
Did this bother you as much as it did me?
Yes. I feel like oh my gosh, I feel like they might have, like, in order to design that haircut, they would have had to, like, put a tight little shower cap on her head, like a swim hat, and then cut around it. And it was just like the most bizarre thing. And I was like, man, how long would it have taken to grow out that haircut when the film was over? It's not cool.
Yeah. It's so bad. It actually was reminiscent of one of the hairstyles in the cartoon Fat Albert.
Oh.
A very odd hairstyle that I'm reminded of when I watched Imogen Poots in this film. But anyway, her performance was fine. And then the character that most shocking to me, and I'm really curious to get your take on this. This is Darcy, the boss, the owner of the bar. Simply because he is played by Patrick Stewart, best known as the heroic, rather reasoned Captain Picard in the Star Trek films. This is not the Patrick Stewart we have come to know. His character in this movie, completely diabolical, but at the same time, he is very calm, cool in his manner. Rarely does he show outright anger. There's one time where he kind of pushes Gabe up against a wall, and then he apologizes for it a few seconds later. But for the most part, he doesn't lose his temper. He's just very calm, calculating, and he has only the most sinister of intentions. He's trying to keep himself, the bar, and his white supremacy group, which he oversees, from having to deal with the consequences of a murder taking place on his property. And if that means framing innocent parties, well, by goodness, so be it. He's going to do it. So what did you think of Patrick Stewart in this role?
Oh, Bruce. Well, let's just say I was extremely shocked. I was like, no, there's just no way. He's not in. Yeah, he was that character. It totally threw me right off. I'm so used to seeing him as, the lovable Captain Picard, is like one of my favorite Star Trek characters. And, classic roles, like he played Scrooge in one of the movies. Just, this wonderful English theater actor, just kind and loving and excellent. And I'm not saying he wasn't good in this movie, because he did a great job. But Man, I didn't like seeing him that way, Bruce. I
Yeah,
really didn't. It kind of made me feel a little bit sad, and just because of the role that he was in, but he did a good job. I mean, I didn't like him, which was,
yeah,
you know, I didn't like him at all. But, it kind of made me sad just to see him in such a different light. I would never have guessed that he could step into a role like that, I think. But
yeah.
yeah, different, different.
Apparently, when he was given the script for this film, he was just wowed by it. He thought this was
Wow.
incredible. And he felt the story was so frightening that he had to go back to his home in England. And I think he lives in a remote countryside area.
Mhm.
And he just had to settle down with a glass of wine because it was just such an intense experience reading the script. But he also knew that he wanted to take this role. What'd
Wow.
you think of Anton Yelchin in this film?
I thought it was really good. I again, like I don't recall seeing any of his prior work except for there was an older Star Trek movie where he played the character of Chekhov, I believe.
Right. Hmm.
And that is the only thing I know him from. But I know his story from where he was injured and killed in that accident in his home. But I didn't really know too much about his roles. But he was really good. Like I didn't think he was over the top at all. I thought he was really good, very, you know, kind in this movie, and just trying to be like that problem solver. And when his arm was nearly taken off with and just kind of hanging there,
Yeah.
you could see the panic on his face. And then somebody tried to duct tape everything together again. And I was like, oh, I don't even know how he could kind of get through a scene like that and
Yeah.
go through it. But I thought it was really good. A
Yeah.
really good act. I think he probably would have had a really promising career ahead of him, I think.
Yeah, he was very good. I saw him in about three different horror films. Another one was Odd Thomas, which is sort of a
Hmm,
comedy slash horror.
okay.
He was very good in all the horror movies that I saw. Usually playing sympathetic characters,
Mm,
heroic characters, although sometimes flawed. He was killed in that just freak accident in his driveway. He was basically crushed by his car, which I don't know if the brake wasn't on properly, but it rolled back into him. It pinned him
mm,
against a fence on his property. He was only 27. I think he's a kid who was destined to have a great career and was
yeah.
going to do huge things and maybe beyond horror. I mean, he had, I think, the range to do, comedy, drama, and continue in horror if he wanted to. And it's just a shame what happened. So you watch the film and you can't help but think that, this is one of the last movies that this young
Yeah.
man did. Let's talk a little bit about one of the reviews I read for the
Mm,
movie. This is done by a pretty famous critic, Richard Roper of the Chicago Sun-Times. So he praised Patrick Stewart, Imogen Poots, Aaliyah Shawkat, who plays Sam, and Macon Blair, who plays the relatively mild-mannered Gabe, who's the manager of the bar. Praised all of them for their efforts, called this film a wonderfully nasty, gruesome, jagged edge gem of a horror film.
mm.
And I think that's a pretty good assessment by Richard Roper. I
Yes.
thought it was interesting the detail that they included. Some of the terminology that they used, I guess, would be white supremacist terminology, and some of it did go over my head, but
Mhm.
it probably gave the film a more authentic feel. They also delved into the red laces, which apparently is a real thing with white supremacist groups. Apparently, they give red laces, boot laces to wear as a reward for service. And when you have the red laces, you're now like authorized to commit acts of violence. It's pretty scary. The film also was done in Oregon, where the movie is said to take place. And a lot of this action was filmed in the Mount Hood National Forest. So it was a very
Mhm.
authentic location. They apparently picked a lot of gray days because the early scenes are in the afternoon and it's gray skies. And then, of course, nighttime after that. But all in all, I enjoyed this one. I've seen it now about 3 times,
Mhm.
and I think I've had to see it 3 times to fully understand everything that occurs. It's got excellent pacing, fast action, very dark and disturbing tone, good performances. I think Green Room succeeds across the board. I like it a lot. I gave it 3.5 stars. Tracy, let's hear your final summary for Green Room from 2016.
Yeah, so I just saw it the one time just the other day, and it definitely action packed. Um, Kept me on the edge of my seat a lot too. Some of the content, like I did really like this movie. I'm not saying I didn't like it, but some of the content, I think I guess I didn't quite get it, maybe just because of the subject matter. So it
Yeah,
would be something I would have to go back and watch again. Um, some of the scenes, though, I thought were a little bit more gruesome than I was expecting. And I'm a
hmm
horror fan, slasher horror, whatever. It like there's not a lot that bothers me. Um, but with the attack dogs in this
dangling
movie,
hand bothered you?
oh, that it kinda it did at the beginning, and then it was just
Yeah,
like he was just kind of, like, all over the place, and I was like, "Okay,
yeah.
I'll live with that." But, the attack dog thing really
Mhm.
it just I couldn't get past that. For me, that was just I think that was just, like, too crazy intense for me. I'm a huge animal lover, and just, like, the whole attack dog just oh, that was too much for me.
Yeah,
Um and with Patrick Stewart, it kind of like hurt my heart just a little bit, just
right.
seeing him like that. But I did really like the movie. Definitely, I think it's something that's worth a second viewing because I think now that I've gone past through like this shock factor, and I think I've seen like everything in this movie,
Mm.
I think I would be able to go back and watch it again. I did give it 3 stars. I thought it was good. Maybe on a next viewing, it might be a little bit higher. I think there was so much going on that it happened so quickly, and a few of the shock value things in there just kind of like made my face turn very pale.
Mm. Yeah.
But overall, you know, it was a good movie, and thank you for that recommendation because honestly, if you wouldn't have mentioned it, I never would have heard of this movie. So yeah.
You make an excellent point. There's a lot of slang. There's a
Yes.
lot of like inside terminology, some of which I just didn't understand. You almost needed a dictionary with some of the scenes, especially with Darcy talking to his lieutenants in this white
Mhm.
supremacist group. So some of that I struggled with. Got the general gist of it though, so it didn't affect the film that much.
Yeah.
I guess I'd like to know more about what some of those terms mean, and I can't even remember them offhand. It was also interesting how there was just one word that they could say to the dog, and
Oh,
that was the signal to the dog to attack. I forget what the
yeah.
word was, but that was it. That's all you needed to say, and then the dog would attack the intended victim. So
Yeah.
that was kind of disturbing as well.
Yeah.
All right, so Tracy gives it 3 stars. I go 3.5 for 2016's Green Room. All right, we will take a short break. When we come back, we'll move on to our second film of this episode. It is a film with just one word title called Hush. Stay with us. We'll be right back on the Ghostly Gallery. Welcome back to the Ghostly Gallery podcast. We proceed to our second film that we'll discuss in this episode. It's another movie that came out 10 years ago. It is called Hush. Tracy, tell us about it.
So Hush was released in 2016 and was directed by Mike Flanagan. This is one of his earlier films before he became really well known for projects like The Haunting of Hill House and Midnight Mass. And the film stars Kate Siegel as Maddie, along with John Gallagher Jr. as the intruder. And we also see a snippet of Michael Trucco and Samantha Sloyan in some supporting roles during a little bit later on in this movie. So, what stood out for me right away was the concept of this movie. It's a home invasion style horror film. But in this case, the main character, Maddie, she's hearing impaired. And that completely changes how this whole story kind of plays out. We follow Maddie. She's a writer. She's living alone in a house that's tucked way out into the woods. She keeps to herself. She doesn't have any family around. It's just her and her cat, basically. But there's a moment early on when her neighbor stops by, and it just shines a little bit of a light on how Maddie lives. Even though she's isolated, she's not really completely totally cut off from human contact. She does have neighbors, and I'm not quite sure how far away her neighbors actually are, but it looks like they're within walking distance. And the film, it kind of takes a little bit at the very beginning, just so you learn more about Maddie. You learn that she's hearing impaired. You figure out how she communicates with people, how she uses technology, and how she's adapted to her environment. And it's really interesting because um, you so Samantha Sloan plays the neighbor, and they're actually doing sign language at the beginning, and I thought that was really kind of fascinating because I don't think that's easy to learn. But they looked like they've been doing it their whole entire lives. Like they were really good at it. So I really thought that was an excellent point. Um, so yeah. So after that, it's not too long after that when something happens. There's like this shift of the vibe here. The neighbor, she ends up at Maddie's door a little bit later, and she's in total distress. Maddie can't hear her because she's hearing impaired. She doesn't know what's going on just on the other side of the glass door. And then we're introduced to the masked intruder. And from that point on, the movie really starts kicking that up into high gear. The intruder actually realizes that Maddie can't hear. And instead of just breaking through those glass doors to go in and kill her, he kind of takes his time, and he's not going to attack her quickly. He's going to stay in complete control while he's outside murdering the poor neighbor. Um, but there's a moment where he actually reveals his face. So he does take off the mask. So he's not masked during the whole film. And I didn't expect him to take this mask off. I thought he would probably leave it on. A creepy mask. Right. Absolutely. And once he took that mask off, my impression changed right away. It's not trying to figure out, well, who is this guy in the mask? Like, what is he? Who is he? And it's more about what's actually going to play out between the two characters. And it's like that total cat and mouse situation. And the film does a really good job of like placing the viewer into Maddie's world. There are times when you're watching the movie and all of a sudden, like, there's no sound at all. Like, there's no music, there's no breathing, there's nothing. It's like total empty. And it's to make you feel like you're experiencing exactly what Maddie's experiencing. And I paid attention quite differently after that first experience, because everything that Maddie does, she has to think about it because there's no sound in her world. She has to rely on sight and timing and instinct. And you can tell kind of as the movie progresses how, well, basically her house, it's all glass. So there doesn't appear to be any curtains or like any real privacy. It's like all glass. So she can see this intruder outside, and she's kind of like following him from window to window to window because she needs to always keep an eye on what's going on and where he is. And yeah, it was a really unique kind of experience. So what did you think of that, Bruce? Did you like that kind of vibe?
Yeah, I did. I'll tell you right from the start, The setting of a fairly isolated house in the woods, along with the main character being deaf and also unable to speak, creates the expectation that, yes, something bad is going to happen to
Mhm.
Maddie. And because she cannot hear, it's going to be even more difficult for her to deal with it. What I didn't expect was how quickly that situation would develop. We get one scene at the very beginning where Maddie is cooking by herself in the kitchen, and then another scene with the neighbor, Sarah, who comes over. Then we see Maddie alone in the house when Sarah goes back to her home. And we see Maddie alone in the house briefly. And then, boom, we are hit with some terror as Sarah is at the window, struggling, screaming at the top of her lungs. Obviously, Maddie cannot hear this. And she is being, tormented by this intruder with the mask on. So it's a pretty fast-paced film. Once you get past the first 10 minutes or so, it's almost nonstop action. Not as frenetic as Green Room. It's a little more controlled in some ways, but it still does remain fast-paced, tense, really for the balance of the movie.
Mhm.
I also was impressed right from the start. Kate Siegel made it very evident that she could not hear. You didn't really have to guess at that. You knew almost a minute or so into the movie just by her mannerisms, her general behavior, and she made it very believable. And,
Mhm.
I can't imagine as an actor, an actress, trying to play somebody who is deaf or blind or has some other physical impairment. It cannot be easy to replicate that. And I thought Kate Siegel did that extremely well. So I was really impressed with that. Yeah, I like this movie right from the start. I knew that there would be an intruder and that it wasn't going to be pleasant, but I guess I just didn't expect that it was going to happen so quickly. Usually they build up for 20 minutes, half an hour,
Mhm.
maybe longer, but this film gets into it right away. It's not a long film. It's about an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So everything that's packed in there has a purpose, is meaningful. Mike Flanagan gets to it right from the start.
Oh, absolutely. Like that first scene with Sarah at the door, like screaming at the top of her lungs, and she's being brutalized by this intruder. And it
Yeah.
it was, oh my gosh, Bruce, just the sounds, the sounds, because he kept stabbing and stabbing and
Yeah.
stabbing. Like for a movie, like the sound quality was just very
Yeah.
graphic. Very
Tracy, didn't
graphic.
you get the sense that while he's attacking Sarah, he's almost waiting, hoping that Maddie turns around and notices what's going on?
Mhm. Because he doesn't understand that she can't hear at that point,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's exactly what he's waiting for, because I think he's, like, waiting for that shock value when she turns around and sees, "Oh my gosh, my friend," because, like, I think he's expecting her to come open that door, and then he can kinda kill 2 birds with 1 stone, so to speak,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
But, man, that was, it was so early on, and it was just, ugh. I didn't expect, I didn't expect that character to kinda go out so fast like that. Not
Yeah.
at all.
Now I have to ask you about the actress who played Sarah, Samantha
Mhm,
Sloyan. You know who that
mhm.
is, right?
I love her. She's
Yeah.
great.
She's in Midnight Mass.
Mhm.
She
Yep,
plays the horrendous character of Bev, who assists the vampire priest.
yep,
Yeah.
absolutely, and it's like, again, she's one of Mike Flanagan's regulars, and,
Yep.
she's in everything, and I wanna say she, just from, like, TikTok videos, I think she's been in many episodes of, I think it's Grey's Anatomy, which I don't watch, but I happened to see that. She was in The Pit recently on season 1. Just, she's a
Right.
phenomenal actress, and when I first saw her as the neighbor kinda walking up the driveway, I kinda got a smile to my face. I'm like, "Okay, so this feels familiar." It's like,
Yeah.
you're back to this cast, right? Because I think the casting that Flanagan does is just so phenomenal. So, kinda disappointed that she went out that way so
Right.
quickly.
Yeah, and she's very sympathetic. I mean, she's obviously good
Mm,
friends with Maddie. She's learned how to do sign language because of her
yeah.
friendship with Maddie. Seems like a good neighbor as well as a good friend. And then, boom, she's, I mean, we don't want to give away too much, but it's early in the
True.
movie. She's taken
Yeah.
out of the equation pretty quickly, and it's sad to see that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And honestly, like once this movie got going, I really kind of like honed into all these really small details and, trying to pick up what Maddie could see and what she couldn't see. And, I was kind of like right with her, realizing like her options were pretty limited because I couldn't imagine putting myself in that position where I couldn't hear. So I wouldn't be aware of like how loud
Mm,
that I was being and, you know, trying to figure out where this intruder is, especially like if you wanted to get out of the house and try to run away, like you would have no idea because you wouldn't be able to hear. So with Maddie trying to think about, how to get out of that situation while the intruder is just there and he's always watching and waiting, you just don't know where he is. Um, it would have been a very scary situation. But
mhm,
I
yep.
did like that this film didn't treat Maddie like she was helpless. It really focused on how resourceful that she could be. Um, she's not like she doesn't have weapons in the house, but every item she picked up could be used as a weapon, and she truly did use them as various weapons to help her save her life. And the pacing for this movie, I thought it was really good. It was like, yeah, an hour and 20 some odd minutes. It was a short movie. It was really tight. It didn't drag. Like you mentioned, everything had that purpose.
Mhm.
Um, it wasn't like a full on action packed movie. It was like, you know, your heart was kind of like racing on the edge of your seat, wondering what was going to happen next. And it was just kind of like, you could put yourself in that position. So I really kind of enjoyed that type of a movie. Um, so I guess what were your thoughts as you were watching it? Like what was going through your mind as this kind of like cat and mouse game was going on?
Well, one of the things I'm thinking about is the intruder,
Mm.
and he's wearing that really creepy mask. It's got kind of a half smile, and it makes him look especially deranged.
Mm.
It's a flesh tone mask, so it's not that different from a white guy's skin color. And the smile is one that it's not a huge smile. But it's one that's kind of off kilter. You can see this guy is not all there.
Mhm.
Even though it's a mask he's wearing, it's sort of emblematic of the personality and the character that
Yep.
we're dealing with. And then I'm looking at this character, and he's just listed in the credits as the man. That's all they never identify him with a name. And I'm always wondering about the motivation of a villain, of a killer in this case. And at the beginning, I'm thinking, now, does he know Maddie? Is he trying to extract some revenge against her for some reason? And I thought for a moment, is he the ex-boyfriend that is sort of vaguely referred to at the very beginning of the movie? Maddie is getting phone calls from a guy named Craig. Is he an
Mhm.
ex-boyfriend, or is he some new guy that's interested in Maddie? And I'm just wondering to myself at first, is this intruder the ex-boyfriend, or is he this guy Craig? But then you realize that he is surprised to learn that Maddie is deaf.
Yeah.
So then well, there's no way he could be the ex. He's got to be a complete stranger. So it still begs the question, why is he picking on her? Why is he killing people randomly out in the forest in the middle of the night?
Mhm.
What's the point? What's the purpose? Does he get a thrill from it? It must be. It must be that he's completely deranged. There's no clear motivation for him to stalk, toy with, and then try to kill Maddie. And he's doing
Mhm.
all of that, trying to do all of that in this film. And I don't think we ever get the answer to that question. What was his motivation? Why did he pick on her? Why did he kill the neighbor, Sarah, at the beginning of the movie? I have no idea. We don't ever get an answer to that.
No, we
Yeah.
don't. And I mean, one of the questions that I had was where she's so far off into kind of like the middle of nowhere. Like, where did he come from? How did he find the house? What ever made him go into that direction? And like you, I was like, could that be this Craig guy? Because usually when something is referenced in a movie, like these like phone calls, and she's trying to maybe call him or not call him, you get a sense that, well, hey, maybe this is the guy. And that she also mentioned to, I think it was her sister when they were doing a video chat,
Right.
that she was on dating sites. So maybe it was like some creepy dating site guy. I don't
Mm.
know. But you don't ever know. And when he took off his mask at that doorway, I expected to see, his name is Zach Gilford. So the guy that played Riley in Midnight Mass, because he had the same stature. And I was like, oh
Oh,
my
okay.
gosh, could that be him? But when he pulled off the mask, it totally wasn't him. But that's kind of who I expected. Just
Oh, okay. Yeah.
yeah. So, but yeah, I thought it was really, really interesting. I thought the performance, it was great. Kate Siegel, she totally carries this film. There's very minimal dialogue, obviously. She's very physical in this role, and you can see her thinking everything through. She's trying to stay calm. I thought she did such a great job. It was, if you didn't know, you would actually think she was hearing impaired. She
Right.
did the sign language. Like, there was never a moment where I didn't believe that she wasn't hearing impaired. Um, John Gallagher, who does play this intruder, I thought he was really good too. Um, so much like a predator. Like, he was
Hmm.
definitely a predator into playing this game. So I think, to answer one of your questions, like, I think he was just in it for the thrill of killing, because at one point she obtains the crossbow, and written on the side of the crossbow, it looks like there's like this kill count. And
Right.
I want to say it might have been like nine, nine scratches in the kill count. So she would have made like number 10. Um, or maybe she
Yep.
made number 10.
Yep.
I'm not going to give the ending away. But
Right. Right.
but I think it was just like, I think he was just a deranged lunatic, and this actor, I've never seen him before. He carried it out really, really well.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think. But yeah, what did you think of the crazy intruder guy?
Yeah. He didn't look like what I expected him to. I thought he would either
Mhm,
be deformed
mhm.
or
Oh
maybe
yeah.
really good looking, and he wasn't really either. But you can tell by his manner of speaking and his facial expressions that, yeah, he's deranged. He's out there, and
Yeah.
he's not. It doesn't have any kind of rational thought going on. So I thought this actor, and I'm not familiar with him either, John Gallagher
Mhm.
Jr. I thought he did a very good job. But there's no question, Kate Siegel carries the film. She is the star, despite the fact that you only hear her voice maybe once or twice toward the end of the film,
Yeah.
because it's her thinking out loud, and she's sort of going through, what do I do next? How do I approach this situation? Do I go to the door? Do I stay in the house? What's my next move going to be to counteract this masked intruder?
Mm.
Uh, she doesn't have the ability to speak. And so we never actually see her converse or hear her converse with any other characters. You just hear her talking in her own head.
Yeah.
And I have to think that's not easy to pull off a role like that, but she definitely does that really well. Samantha Sloyan and the actor who plays, I guess, her boyfriend,
Mhm.
John, they don't have a lot of film time, but they seem like pretty good people, pretty reasonable people. And you kind of, well, you hate to see what happens to Sarah at the beginning of the movie. But yeah, I thought all the performances were good. There's only like 5 different people that actually
Right.
appear in this movie. So it was a low budget. It was done in very simple outdoor settings and in this house in the woods, and yet it came across to me as being a bigger budget film, even
Mhm.
though it probably was not. So, here's a case of Mike Flanagan doing a lot with a little.
Yep. Oh,
Yep.
I totally agree, Bruce. I thought it was really, really well done. I didn't find it like overly scary, but I thought it was like really effective at the same time. And you know, I only saw this again for the very first time. Just actually, it was last night or the night before I saw it for the very first time. And I can't tell you why I have never seen it before, just because I'm such a huge Mike Flanagan fan. Like I
Right.
just why didn't I see this before? I love the casting that he always uses, and just like a cool little ditty at the beginning, I thought was just super iconic because Maddie is an author, so she is a writer, and it takes on the perspective that she has written the novel Midnight Mass. So
Yeah.
she's kind of like talking about it to her friend Sarah, who is, the actress actually plays in Midnight Mass. So, and she was just kind of giving her ideas and just a little bit of information. So I thought that was like super cool. And that's not the first time he's done that. He also referenced the novel Midnight Mass in his film Gerald's Game.
Oh,
So I thought like it was so cool because it was Midnight Mass hadn't been released at the
no.
point when this was, because I want to say it was released a year or two later, maybe.
No, it
Oh,
was 5 years later,
oh, was it?
2021. Yeah. I'm pretty
Wow.
sure it came out
Okay.
5 years after this movie. So Midnight
Okay.
Mass was in his mind for a long time.
Oh my gosh, yes. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say enough good things about him. Like, he's just like phenomenal. And I love the way that he kind of tucked that inside this movie. Um, just so interesting. Very interesting. I did really like this movie. I did give it 3.5 stars, easy, first time watch. And I totally recommend people go see it if they haven't. And you can find it on Tubi. It's free on Tubi. That's where I watched it.
Yep.
Yeah. How about you?
All right. Just a couple of thoughts before I give my final assessment for the film. We talk about how there's very little dialogue and there's basically almost none from the main character of Maddie in the entire film, which is an hour and 20 minutes,
Mhm.
less than 15 minutes of total dialogue in the entire film. So there are long stretches of time where nobody is saying anything. So that's interesting. Also, this film was done in only 18 days.
I
And
didn't know that.
that's like what they used to do in Hollywood, making horror films like in the 30s and 40s. They would make it in pretty quick turnaround times.
Hmm.
I want to say that today it's pretty common for a shoot to be at least a month, maybe longer. I think that's accurate. I hope it's accurate. But 18 days, I mean, that's not even 3 weeks. So that's amazing to me. It's really incredible. I'm also going to go high on this one. I thought Hush was very well done. Even though it had a small budget, it felt like a bigger budget film. Less is more. Good horror movies can be made without deep casts of characters and without expensive sets. I think Flanagan shows that here. It's got a good script. It has excellent actors and obviously actors he's familiar with. And there was also so much nighttime atmosphere to make this interesting. Pretty much the entire film is at night.
Mhm.
So I agree with you. I thought this was really well done. The only reason we watched this, we were planning to do another film along with Green Room for this show, and we couldn't access it on streaming. So at the kind of last minute, we came up with Hush, which also came out the same year and the same time as Green Room. So I'm glad we chose it. I think it's a good movie.
Yes.
It shows you Flanagan's talents. This is before he really started to become famous for The Haunting of Hill House, Midnight Mass, some of the other TV shows that he's done. And I'll go same rating, 3.5 stars for Hush. So I like it a lot.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. And I'm so happy that I finally did sit down and watch this, and I don't regret it at all. Just it makes me want to go back through Flanagan's kind of catalog of films to see, okay, I've seen all of these, which ones haven't I seen?
Yeah.
And I don't really know if there's anything I haven't seen now. So I need to go do that double check and see, and maybe pull something out of the basket. You never
Yeah.
know.
Well, you've seen Gerald's Game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Have you seen Oculus?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
You've seen that? What'd you think of that? I haven't seen that one.
So it's been a really long time, but because I remember seeing it when it first came out, and I really did enjoy it. And for the life of me, I can't remember who is in it, but I do think Kate Siegel is in that film as well, I believe. But I did like it because again, it's a little bit different. Everything he does is a little bit different. And yeah, the subject matter for Oculus was pretty kind of cool.
There's an earlier film that he did, and I think it might have been his first feature film, and I'm pretty sure Kate Siegel's in it, but I cannot remember what it was called. I want to say it came out around 2012, 13, something like that. Is this ringing a bell at all?
Oh my gosh. No. Well, yes and no. I can't. I would have to go through his IMDb and really scour it to see what else is on there. But I'm looking forward to all his new projects, because he just wrapped up on Carrie not that long ago, and I believe it's filmed in British Columbia. And he's actually he back to back, because he is in progress of filming The Exorcist, his version of The Exorcist. So my understanding is it's not going to continue. So I think, what was it? The Exorcist that we saw, and we did a little review on, I can't remember what the branch was. It was like Exorcist Believer or something like that. But it's not going to follow that, I guess, storyline. It's completely different. Like, what he's doing is completely different. And again, like, he's bringing in his familiars, like his familiar cast members. And I did see a few still images posted on social media. A lot of familiar faces. So I am, again, super excited. And I guess he's going to be picking up the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. So he might kind of dabble in that a little bit kind of down the road. So he has so much. And I'm fascinated with the way his brain operates, and just the sheer spookiness of his projects. Like, I do appreciate the stories. I guess I'm gonna say I'm his number one fan, but I do love his work.
Yeah. Well, he's particularly good at taking old stories, books, movies, and then giving them a modern day twist, and taking them in different creative ways. And I see nothing wrong with doing that. You know, if you're just taking old stories and presenting them, you know, in 2026 society, and then not doing anything different other than that, it's not very creative. But he does do other creative things with the stories. He does stretch them into boundaries that we don't always expect. And that's something that he's shown himself to be very skilled at. Absolutely. Okay, very good. So that's going to wrap things up for this week's edition of the Ghostly Gallery. So we reviewed the two films. Both came out 10 years ago. First up was Green Room, starring the late Anton Yelchin. I gave it 3.5 stars. Tracy went 3 stars on that. And we've just wrapped up talking about another excellent film from 2016, Hush, directed by Mike Flanagan, starring his wife, Kate Siegel. They had, I think, just gotten married at that time. And Siegel really delivers the goods in the movie. Both Tracy and I gave that one 3.5 stars. So Tracy, as always, thank you. Great conversation. Enjoyed talking to you.
Oh, thanks, Bruce. It's definitely fun as always. Great recommendations.
I guess that'll make up for my Count Yorga recommendation.
Absolutely.
We'll have to talk about that on a future show. So that's going to wrap things up for this week's edition of the program. In addition to thanking Tracy, I thank all of you for listening and watching. We do appreciate you joining us in this Museum of the Macabre, and we hope you'll join us again next time right here in the Ghostly Gallery.